Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Fully Charged Gardener. Thank you very much for tuning in again. I really do appreciate it. So today's video is about no mow. And yes, I am going to say no mow far too many times in this video, which could potentially make for a funny drinking game, but there we go. So yes, no mow, quite often referred to in TV shows and in gardening magazines as Mow May. But in this video, I want to talk about no mow as a more long-term thing. So let's get to it. Let's go. We're going to start this video in my garden. And although this video is about no mow, I just want to show that it doesn't necessarily need to be complete no mow. It can be compromise and you can have both. So our lawn here, although we mow it once a week, it doesn't get fertilised and it doesn't get any weed treatments on it whatsoever. And what that does is that allows a variety of species here. And I'll get back to why that is important later in this video. So even just within this lawn here, we have daisies, dandelions, clover, creeping buttercup, and it doesn't matter because it's all green and it's great for playing on and it doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's really important to remember. And then along this fence line last autumn, we planted some daffodils. Now, bulbs are a fantastic way of sort of leading you into this whole no-mow scheme, because obviously you don't want to mow over your lovely bulbs and cut them off and ruin your display. So that's encourage you into this no-mow. And that usually happens before May. So this is the start of our extended no-mow season. And bulbs, you know, there's so many options when it comes to bulbs. It doesn't just need to be the classic daffodil thing. You can go down the road of crocuses, snowdrops, camassias, snake's heads, fritillaries. There's a whole range of bulbs that you can create an early display, encouraging no-mow. And then following on from that, we would normally, in years gone by, about 8 weeks after the daffodils have flowered, we'd go and mow them off. But what we're going to do this year, and what we did last year, and we're going to do it moving forward, is we're going to leave these areas, like this strip along this fence, all the way up until end of July, beginning of August, and then we'll cut it off. Let's go to another part of the garden, and I'll explain to you why we're doing this and why it's important. Let's go. Now, I've brought you down to this area of the garden for one specific reason that I don't think gets talked about enough when it comes to no-mow, and that is soil compaction. Now, this area here gets quite a lot of traffic. It's a delivery route, so lots of vehicles up and down here for wedding deliveries, and that creates a lot of compaction. And no-mow has been fantastic in laying out a roadway for vehicles to follow, because trust me, if these areas were mown, the vehicles would drive everywhere. And what this no-mow does by creating these paths is allows us to control traffic. Now, it's something you may hear used in agriculture these days, controlled traffic farming, and that basically means that all the vehicles follow the same wheel marks. So the combine will follow the same wheel marks that the sprayer's been following, and then the trailer will follow in the same lines as the combine, and it keeps all the compaction in focused areas. And that's really important. And let's talk about that a little bit more. So now we've created these areas of controlled traffic. What that does is allow these areas here to breathe. It's so important that the soil is allowed to breathe, and compaction's really bad for that. You know, you're breaking down the airfill porosity of the soil. You know, we've got all these little air pockets within the soil, in amongst all these little grains of sand and clay and organic matter, this microbial diversity, and it needs to breathe. Compaction's really bad for it. So keeping people off, you know, long grass, wet shoes, people don't want to go on it. We're not on there every week mowing it, so it is an amazing benefit of no-mow. But let's go and talk about a few more things that are also amazing about no-mow. Come on. One thing you will notice quite early on, after not mowing for a couple of weeks, is the variety of plants that will appear, and that's so important. Biodiversity, you'll hear it talked about a lot, and it is so true what they say. Variety is the spice of life. I know it may sound cheesy, but it really is. Monocultures are so unhealthy for so many reasons, and us as gardeners are guilty of it. We really are guilty of it. But monocultures, if you get a pest or a disease, will spread like wildfire. Whereas if you have a whole variety of species, it will slow that spread down. So it creates a healthy environment. And I think you'll agree, it looks pretty cool too. So let's go and talk a little bit more about it. The amazing thing that happens with No Mow, and if you leave it to go on a little bit longer than No Mow May, is the amazing diversity in plant species. And with that diversity of plant species comes a diversity of wildlife. Again, we're talking about that ecosystem and that biodiversity. So, as I said earlier, the humble dandelion is a key part of it all. Some people may see it as a weed, some animals see it as lunch. This part of the video, I'd like to aim to more self-employed gardeners or gardeners that are running a mowing round. And what I'd love for you to do is to try and persuade your clients to give over a small section of their garden this year. I know a lot of people talk about No Mow May and we're in the middle of it. Encourage them to leave a section now, sort of from now, middle of May, until you cut it in August. Now, explain to them that when it comes to the cut in August that you do, there's going to be a little bit more time and labour involved and obviously a bit more material to take away. So it's worth explaining that to them first and preparing the client for that. And it's also worth explaining that they may not get that snazzy pictorial meadow that you see in the magazines. It may well just look something like this. So prepare them for it, but explain to them just how amazing it would be if they could give over a small space. And you can use it to your benefit. For example, if there's a corner of the garden that's awkward to mow, and it'd be beneficial for you from a time point just to leave that. But another great place to do no mow is underneath trees. If you can leave a ring around the base of trees, that is fantastic for the tree, as we talked about earlier with the reduced compaction, and it makes life easier for you because it's one less thing to strim around each time you go in there every week. So it really would be amazing if you could try and talk to your clients and get them to do it, because you think about it, just a few square meters over these gardens adds up to a huge area and it makes a massive difference. So give it a go. I hope you found today's video useful, and I really do encourage you to give No Mow a go. I know it sounds cheesy, but give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. For nothing else, you'll save some time. That's more time to sit in the garden with a cold beer or a glass of wine and just enjoy the space. I'd just like to say thank you so much for tuning in again. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Cheers.